Alright, we are live. This is the car we're working on. 2003 Subaru Forester. This is what we're blimping on tonight. This is the transmission for it. We got it fixed. Just the people bashed in its nose cone. Or the tail piece in here. It was all banged in and smashed up. No, it feels good. Here, you can hold this. There's nobody on there yet.
Okay, I'll hold it for you. I'll try and hold it still.
Mm-hmm. Think about what I'm doing. You see what I did with the impact? This 10mm socket. I'm gonna have to get in here and drain the antifreeze. 10mm socket. Yeah. Wow, move that power steering pump out of the way here in a minute. There. Little nuts are for the power steering pump. Miss them. Oh my goodness. Oh, there they are. I didn't give me a jug that would have drained this. Throw it into the deal. The other thing I can do here. Have a damn screwdriver or something for that one. need a flathead screwdriver. Pull that little thing out. Come over here and look in this engine bay with me. We can undo some plugs and stuff. This thing here sits right on here. And that's the throttle body injection for the carburetor. Or that's what it is. Instead of a carburetor, you got throttle body injection, where it injects fuel out of a fuel rail into that thing, and it sucks it through there. But everything looks really good.
They said top off the blinker fluid.
I topped the blinker fluid off.
You did?
Yep. And I adjusted the muffler bearings already as well.
Muffler bearings?
If you don't properly lube your muffler bearings, then it'll rattle when you give it gas. Like.
And blinker fluid important?
Well, only if you want people to see where you're going.
Oh.
I don't have blinkers on this rig. I use my finger. I mean my hand signals. I use my hand signals so people can know which way I'm going. Now, if you just loosen all these bolts, and then I'm going to just get a chain and hook it right there. Lift it up like that.
Okay.
And then you just hook that transmission on it real fast. And then I'll sit it back in. Okay. Sounds good, huh? Really easy. You just gotta unhook all these things.
It's a Subaru. They're asking what kind of car is it?
This is a 2003 Subaru Forester. See how it has the aluminum intake. It's all aluminum. The block, the heads in the block are all aluminum as well. And if you look over here at the transmission, shine over here on this transmission. The transmission has all aluminum housing as well. So there's a lot of aluminum parts on a Subaru. Got a lot of aluminum parts. It's a boxer 4-cylinder engine, and boxer means the pistons go straight out to the side, whereas on a V6 or a V4 or something like that, it comes up, the cylinders come up at a V pattern, and on each side there's one going up on this side that way and some going this side forming a V. And this motor has an H pattern, which lays flat, and they shoot out to the side, like that, which they don't wear out near as fast. They don't have near as much heat created, and actually they produce pretty good amount of torque for the small engine. Pretty peppy little rides, and they built pretty good. They don't seem to rust out super fast. Even in places where they got a lot of salt and stuff in the roads, I guess. But they don't seem to rust out that fast.
Here, you got a thumbs up.
Well, that's good.
Somebody liked your video already.
Well, that's good. They don't seem to rust out that fast. They have aluminum engines, so that's good. The only thing you don't want to over-torque things. You want to make sure you go and look at the torque specs before you torque, because your bolts are made out of steel. Your head and block and everything like that is made out of aluminum. So your steel is going to be tougher than the main material that you're screwing it into. So you want to remember your torque specifications so you don't strip them out. Otherwise, you have to do what they call a Healy coil. And that's, you have to drill it bigger and then tap a coil in and thread it bigger, and then you twist this coil into it, re-threading the bolt hole. But this is going to be fun. Just going to pull this motor out, and The reason I'm doing pulling the motor out and putting the transmission, marrying them, and then putting them in one piece is simply because I don't have a transmission jack right now. And we're a ways away from Harbor Freight and all that kind of fun stuff. So, to save all that and getting down there and try to bench press this thing up from the bottom, it's just time consuming, but it's not that hard. You remove your air conditioning pump. There's 4 bolts, these little bolts here. You remove your air conditioning pump, you remove your belt. Your tensioners are here. You got to loosen them. I'm going to have to raise the motor up because the transmission's gone and the motor's tilted forward. So I need to hook a chain here, lift up on this motor so I can get down and remove these belts. Remove the air conditioning pump, lay it aside over here. You don't have to undo the hoses or whatnot. Just lay it out of the way. Undo it, unbolt the brackets, gently lay it out of the way. You got to unhook the plug here. You unhook your positive plug here after your battery's disconnected. Don't want to melt your wedding ring down, because if your wedding ring touched, if the battery was hooked up and your wedding ring touched from, say, that head of that bolt to this, like that somehow, that would instantly turn that wedding ring into a molten pile of gold, and it would just drip off my finger, but it would be burning, and it's terrible bad to have that happen, but it will happen. That's why a lot of mechanics don't wear rings. But you just pull that plug out. I'll need a flathead screwdriver to release from the front, from the back. Pull that out, take the alternator out. You can take that completely out. And then you take the power steering pump here loose. We've already loosened the hold downs on the fuel rail. So then we lay the power steering pump out of the way. Drain the radiator fluid. It's automatic, but the transmission fluid's already been drained. But you don't have to undo them. We don't have to remove the radiator. You just want to remove the hoses. Lay your power steering pump out of the way. You don't break anything over there on all your brake deals. And then let's see, what else do we have to do? Oh, remove the electric fans off the front of the radiator.
Oh, that's right.
It'll gain you another 2 or 3 inches in here.
Oh, that's right. Those are the fans.
And the clearance on the firewall and the Foresters is enough that if you tip that transmission down enough, and at the last minute kick it up and in, drop your 2 engine mount bolts in, and just take your transmission frame rail, bolt it on at the bottom, lift it up with a jack, and then line the bolts up, put the bolts in, and then you just reattaching all this stuff that we unhooked. But the only thing holding these motors in is these front gadgets here, and there's some fuel lines. There's 3 fuel lines, a return line, and your brake master cylinder hose there. And then these hoses are for your heater inside. Takes heat from your radiator fluid from your engine block, flows it up through there through a heat exchanger, and it flows a fan through. Get your heat in the front of the car, and that's what that. Once you unhook those, then your fluids are done, and then you can hook your chain back here on that little loop, this little loop here, and you hook the chain right through this front part over here, right through there, and then you gently lift that motor up. Don't want to hit your radiator, bust that up. If you got lots of room, you just gently lift it up. We may have to remove the hood just to make it easy, and it's a lot of work. I mean, it takes time, but it's not harder than bench pressing the transmission from the bottom, up under the bottom. That's a pain in the ass. That requires, half a jug of whiskey maybe, and we're not drinking tonight, so that was out of the question.
So we may need to invest in a transmission jack?
Or a jug of whiskey. But if we're saving the liver, then we invest in the transmission jack. And the transmission jack, all it does, it's a flat jack that lifts up and down like this, but it's got a flat plate of metal that it can adjust and tilt like this. and you strap your transmission to it, and you roll it under there, and then you raise up that thing by using your impact with your half-inch drive socket. You raise that jack up like that, so it raises it up into position. Then you'd raise your front of your motor up to make it the right angle, and then you get them lined up, and then just slide them forward and meet them like that. And that one weighs good too. And then you got to lean over and hook all your marriage bolts to your torque converter, to your flex plate on your engine. See what I'm saying?
Oh, that thing? Is that what
There's
you're
four
pointing
bolts.
at?
These 4 bolts here
Okay.
that hook your flex plate to your torque converter. And you gotta look. See, the hole to do that is way down in here. See, you have to like bend over and have this moved out of the way, and then you're bending, and then you're accessing it right here, through right there where my finger is. Then you have to spin this flex plate, spin the motor over, you know what I mean, and then line those bolts up. And as you turn the motor over, those things will line up, and then you put the bolts on. That's what connects your torque converter to your engine. And then you got to hook up your gears, your gear shifter, and your drive line. And you got to put your radiator fluid back in, and put your hoses back on. Reattach your power steering pump and your alternator and your air conditioner. But that's all right, because it gives you a chance to inspect the belts, look it over, because this is a new car to us. We went down and purchased this car from a fellow who took it to a transmission shop. It threw a code. The transmission shop pulled the transmission without permission from the owner, and then said it was going to be $3,000 to put it back in. The owner had a fit and said, no way, I'll just sell the car. So they sold it to us. First thing I did was notice the front wheels wouldn't spin. And the bearings were falling out. So right away, I go, okay, well, maybe it wasn't a transmission issue per se. The wheel bearings were literally falling apart. So the rattling and the vibration of those wheel bearings being completely trashed could have made that transmission throw a sensor code. So that's what my brain, my big mechanic brain, is telling me that it very well, since those were totally inoperable basically, that's probably had something to do with the problem, since it's only got 103,000 miles, and these transmissions typically go 200, 230, 250,000 miles without too big a deal. Even though they're good transmissions, if you keep the oil clean in them and you take care of them, you don't rot them, they really do last a long time. So I don't think it's the transmission per se. I think it's been well taken care of. I think that those wheel bearings went out, and the transmission shop tried to take advantage of somebody, and it ended up, benefiting us, which is a blessing. So we got to be thankful for our blessings. But also, maybe this video will save somebody else out there down the line. Just because your car's throwing a transmission code, if it's got a wobble in the front end, if it's got a vibration, check your CV axles. Check them. Make sure those boots aren't ripped to crap, and your CV joints are all just shaking and rattling. And it could be your ball joints. It could be what we just said just a second ago. What did I say?
The wheel bearings were bad on this one.
The wheel bearings that were falling out. Yeah, absolutely. That make the axles shake. That makes it throw a code. And nowadays, you take a Subaru to the shop, it could be thousands of dollars. And, the shop isn't going to tell you, oh, hey, maybe they will. A lot of us are honest. And we'll tell you, hey, save you some money. And, maybe they'll throw you a tip. And then if they don't, that's fine too. At least you can go sleep at night knowing you were honest about your work. And that's the most important thing. If you do a good job that way, if you screw up on something, hey, you screw up. Sometimes mistakes happen. But if you're honest about it, you just go with it. So that's what we're doing. And that's what tonight's going to entail. It's going to be probably a little bit late. So I can start hurting so bad I can't go no more. But that's going to be it. We're just going to pull that out. And then when we get this up in the air, we can spin that engine around. And then made it right up with this. And literally, it's right here in my lap. I'm literally right here, twisting these bolts in, getting them all lined up, turning the motor over. You know what I mean? Lining them things up, getting all these bolts lined up, making sure my spacing's right, making sure my dowels line up, and that way everything's lined up. On the transmission, we just have to tighten up we have to torque down the bolts on the back housing, because on this back housing, let's show them what we did on that. This back housing, tail housing here, the transmission shop was so nice. When the guy told him to put the transmission back in the truck, we're not going to pay you to do the transmission job. They took this cone off with a hammer, smacked the cone off, and then bent the housing with a hammer. Took the cone off, wham! Give it a good, real hard bend right here so it would impede that seal to where it was flattened on one side right here. Completely just flattened out. Even though the shaft would go in, that seal was pushed more on one side than the others. So what would happen is it would wear that seal out in one spot, and that transmission oil would just dump right out on the street. I put another seal in. I couldn't put the seal in because I got a big old flat spot. And then they said, well, you need a new cone piece because this thing here pops off. These bolts here, you take your sensor off, take these 12 millimeter bolts out, boom, 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 take them all around there, give it a little whack with a hammer, tap, tap, tap-a-roo, pops right off. There's no wires connecting this outer housing to the transmission. Like on the earlier model, there is. You take this housing out, there's a wire connecting it. So you don't want to yank it off too fast. You want to go slow because you'll pop that wire out and break it. I didn't break it, but that's what'll happen. This one doesn't have a wire. This is a 2003 Subaru Forester. So what I did, I took this whole out piece off and I tried to heat it and bend that aluminum back out straight. It broke. So I went ahead and got my welder out. I weld aluminum. I got a MIG welder that welds aluminum. So I took the Miller 185 and I welded this tab back on, and then I reset the seal and then put some sealant around it just to make sure it wouldn't leak. Put a new seal on it. So hopefully that's just going to run like a champ. And in the meantime, I'm looking for a new one of those. So if anybody out there has a 2003 Subaru, an old transmission laying around, if you can take that back piece off, take those 12 millimeters off, take that off and ship it to me in the mail, give me a DM on here and I'll send you my P.O. box and I'll gladly pay you for that cone part. But that's what we're doing. That's what happened. And if you don't have no in your heart, like the old Joe Dirt, you can make anything happen. I mean, that was pretty bent up. We're out here in the sticks, and nowhere out here has one of these. So we just fixed it. Then we'll rebend this out because they bent up a few things when transmission shop. Oh, I'm mad. They're not going to pay me my $3,000 extortion thing. Well, screw that. You know, just watch out there, folks, because people are dishonest. And it isn't that hard. I mean, I overthink things and think that these are going to be super complicated. Subarus they're really simple. They're not that complicated. The truth of the matter is, when you're working on these and you're plugging them back in, like you see all these plugs here and this and that, the plug over here, and it looks all, oh, what does all this stuff go to? You know, hoses and wires and whatnot. These they only plug into one thing. It ain't like it'll plug into the wrong one. The other plug will only plug into one of them. Look, see? Your plugs are different. So, you know, you can't plug it in wrong. You try to plug it in, even if you're real dumb. Try to plug it in, it don't fit. Then you plug it in the next one, see if it fits. Even if you try to stick the square in the circle hole, it won't fit. You just stick it in the next one. And you just keep doing that till they all plug in. As long as you don't force them and break them. You just take your time and just plug them until they fit. As long as you get the ears right. And this number right here on your transmission coming in the front, that number right here on your transmission is very important because they made a lot of these transmissions. A lot of them will work, a lot of them will interchange, but they're all different. There's a lot of them that are different. And if you have those last 4 digits, C4AA-1B, that's the kind of transmission this is. I think it's still a EAT4 because it's still 4-speed. But I don't know. It might be the EAT5. Like I said, this one's new to me. Maybe one of you guys on the video in the comments will tell me that, yeah, you're slowing ahead. This is the EA5, EAT5 or whatever. But we got the new seal in the back. We got the new seal up front behind the torque converter and oil pump seal. Right there, the back of the torque converter engages your oil pump. So we got a new seal there. And then we put the new axle seal on this side. No, wait, we put the new axle seal on the passenger side. We still need to go ahead and pull this out and pull this one on this side. Some of them, you can pull this stuff loose. I just got this in here so it won't get dirt in it. But this seal here, a lot of times, these ones, you take this nut loose, you mark which one's aiming up, count how many times you have to unscrew this thing, because this is a bearing and it's preloaded. It's preloaded how much weight, how much pressure is pushing against it. So the amount of turns that comes out is important. You have to count them exactly and know exactly how many turns it comes out. And when you put it back in, you have to start it where it ended off. Put it in there, get it started, and then start counting back in. 1, 2, 3, all the way back in. And then line up your mark. And then you've preloaded it back to what it was. But this thing here comes out. You take that off, you unscrew this, and then that seal just pops out the other side. Some of these, there's not very much of a lip. There's not much of a lip there. So you can go ahead and hook your seal puller back behind here, pop that seal out, and just press the new seal right in, and you can kind of feel that little notch, the little bump. If you press it in just gently, you can feel that bump, and you know how far to press it in. But if you if you just go ahead and take that out of there, and then press it in, push it in from the back, that way, I don't know, I feel better when I do them like that, but lots of people don't. And then it's going to change your little oil can filter on this thing. Lots of people change this out instead of changing the one underneath. And this one only has 100,000 miles on it. So it's still in pretty good shape. And somebody's had it out not that long ago, so you can see they've had the silicone on it at the transmission shop when they rebuilt it or whatever. So somebody was working on it already, because you can see there's silicone around that solenoid, that sensor right there, and the same kind of silicone around the bottom pan. Even though it looks a little sloppy, does not mean it was from a bad shop, because if you look on this thing, the bell housing's numbered and the torque converter's numbered, so it tells you that they marked the parts for this transmission. Well, they took it apart to fix it. And that was done in 2023. There's a sticker right here that shows it was done in 2023. Where is it? Right there. That sticker shows it was done in 2023. And then if you see numbers on this thing like this, 1439, 1439 on the torque converter, and then you look over here on the back of this bell housing, see that yellow mark, the yellow number over here on the back? It's labeled the same. That way when they take these pieces apart, they take the torque converter off, they take this front housing off, because this is a transaxle. This is the front differential. This part up to right here is the front differential. That's the gears that make your front wheel drive. This here part, this middle section here, from here, this part here is your transmission. This part back here houses your clutch packs. Some of them, and there's also clutch packs in here. But this is called your tail shaft housing. And this is your transmission. And this is your...
The bell housing? Is that what you said?
No, it's the transaxle. It's your, it's your transaxle. to run your front wheel drive. And then this goes out to the rear axle to run your rear differential and your rear tires. This is this constant velocity transmission. Is what this one is. Constant velocity transmission. I don't know a lot about them, but I know that much. And up to 2003, I think 2003 or 2004, you used regular Dextron 3 transmission fluid instead of the CVT fancy new transmission fluid that they have out for the newer ones. So these older ones use the regular old Dex 3. So that's kind of cool to know that. And that's what we're doing. So hopefully we'll do another video here in a little bit and show the parts of these parts pulled out and laid aside. We're going to drain the antifreeze out. Don't let the dogs drink that crap. So we're going to tie up the dog and feed her some antifreeze. I mean, drain the antifreeze. And then we love our dog. We're going to feed her antifreeze. We're going to drain that out. And then we're going to put it in a bucket so we can reuse it because that stuff is expensive. And this stuff is brand new. Look in here. It's brand new. I mean, if you go to drain your antifreeze and it's that green, it's sure enough green. You know what I mean? You can tell. Look in there. See what I mean? It's sure enough green. It's green. It's green and clean. If it's green and clean, you don't need to. I mean, maybe filter it through a coffee filter or something. Save that money. Don't waste it. I mean, just coffee filter it. Throw it through a bucket. Get you a little strainer. Put a coffee filter in it. Strain it through there if there's dirt and rust or something in it. And reuse it. It ain't that bad. I mean, farm logic. No, you don't do that with your oil. You'd never do that with oil or anything like that. But as far as like your this kind of a thing, you know, it is expensive. But we bought a jug, so we have some to throw to do it. But I mean, why throw it away if it's super green and super clean like that? They just did this when they had the motor out last. So why waste it? You reuse it, recycle it if you can. That's my motto anyway. Why throw money away? Might need to buy worms. You know, we got a new cast net so we can catch shad.
We can go fishing.
Yeah, we can catch
Yes,
shad.
sir.
For catfishing. But
here, hold this for me.
If you need worms, you might need to save a few bucks to buy some fishing worms. Or hooks. Catfishing hooks. Sinkers are very expensive nowadays too. Price of lead is up. They only give you $10 for a core on a battery down to AutoZone or O'Reilly's. But dadgum, if you melt that down and made sinkers out of them, you'd probably make, I don't know, 25 or 32 ounce sinkers. There's probably got to be 50 ounces or 30 ounces or so of silver, not silver, but lead in those batteries. And, you know, hey, those sinkers, it's like a 4-pack or whatever. It's like $5. They're like $1 a piece. So you melt them down into sinkers, then you're making $40. Or you're saving $40 on sinkers instead of getting $10 for a battery. Yeah, it's a lot less hassle, but making sinkers is a lot more fun. Look, Colton's still on there. My little buddy's still on there. I love you, Colton. I hope you enjoyed the mechanic video. I'm gonna have to turn my phone off soon because it's battery's gonna run low again. But I just want to do a quick video and a shout out to my little buddy, Colton, my little mechanic buddy, my fish buddy. Miss ya. Can't wait till you're here. We're working on cars. We'll get you a car and we'll fix you up a car or a pickup or something. Won't be long and you'll be wanting to drive something around, run around and chase things and chase fish. Go fishing and put pole holders on it and everything.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We love you and miss you. Everybody out there, have a good day. If anybody else watches it, give me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe. How does that Colton say it? Give me a thumbs up and hit that like and subscribe button.
Yeah, he says smash that like button.
Yeah,
you got 3 likes on this video already.
Smash the like and subscribe.
See?
Look at this little car. It's a clean peeler. It's dusty, yeah. It's dusty. Look, hi, Colton. Check it out. This thing inside. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Careful now, door. Careful now, door. When you look at a car like this, if you're looking to buy one, you look at the carpet where they put their feet in and out. You look at where they grab it. You look at the fabric, and you look at the leather where they grab it. You look at the handle, okay, for wear, like the handle here, for wear and discoloration. You look at the button here where it says lock. See that thing that has the window thing right there? That thing oftentimes is faded because people's fingers, when they push that, push it,
Oh, the ink
then
comes off.
then that wears off. So that shows a sign of how much it's been used. Also, over the driver's side, you look at the pedals. You know, the pedals, if the rubber on the pedals is all worn down and the metal's poking through, where they've been pushing the pedal a lot, you know that's got quite a few miles on that sucker because the pedals are worn out. But if they're all brand new and still got the tread like a brand new tire, you're good to go. It's not worn out. And also, on the driver's side, you look at the seat right here. This part of the seat will tell you a lot about the wear and tear on the car.
Oh, how many times in and out?
And how fat the people are. If you got a big old giant fatty like me going in and out of there, if they go in and out of there for 100,000 miles, the seats are going to be sad. See? Like you can see where that one's just bent, worn down a little bit, but not worn, but kind of where somebody sat on it.
All right, I get it.
And
Things to look for.
See the armrest where
Mm-hmm.
it's slightly worn down, a little bit discolored, and there's like sand over there. So a single person probably drove this car a lot, and they probably didn't have kids because look how clean the back seat is. You know what I mean? And they probably didn't have friends that rode with them because there's no burn marks in the seats. Rowdy friends have burn marks, and they burn seats like back here in the back. So, I mean, really, and around the doors, you look around the doors for rust and damage. You look around the doors for Bondo, different colored paint. If you're looking around the fender wells, especially for Bondo, different color, like orange peel look around the fenders, will tell you that somebody's done work on it or Bondoed it. See this one here? See how that's slightly pushed out? See that? See how that's slightly pushed out?
Yeah.
We're going to need to get a keeper. There's keepers that hold that plastic bumper on. So he might have been a little bumper bender, once upon a time or whatever. But see how easy the door opens? Which means these things here are full of gas, they're fully charged and stuff like they're supposed to. And you look in the back here, the back is really clean. It's got this thing here, which they don't hardly ever have this to pull back so you don't get sun on your groceries. Or your fishing box, your ice box full of fish, you don't want the sun shining on it. Under here, you get your full-size spare tire, your jack, you got your lug nuts back there. You got your jack handles and everything in the spots they're supposed to be in. You know what I mean? Everything's in good shape. There's no tears in the ceiling. There's no stains on the ceiling. I mean, there's 4 Michelin Defender tires all the way around that match all the way around. This was a super good deal on a car. Super good deal. And then all the engine is really clean and been gone through just this last year. That transmission shop really put a hurt into that guy. So if you take your car to the transmission shop this Halloween, whoa, beware, you might get screwed.
Lord, just like this guy did.
That's crazy, right? That's a good Halloween commercial.
Hopefully it turns out to be a score for us.
Well, this will be a score for us.
What a pretty little car.
For the guy who took it for the transmission shop, not so much because, You can't just drop things off nowadays with people. I mean, unless you really know them and know the shop and they got a better business bureau accreditation where people you know have taken stuff to them and they've done them right. Because if you take it to a shop and they're trying to do you right and they accidentally overstep and they pull parts off that you didn't authorize, and the customer says no, 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 and gets upset and says I just want my car back, then by law and by responsibility, you should not damage the parts. You should put them back any way he asks you to put them back. If he just says put them in the car and give it back to me like that, then that's good because you don't have to put them back together. But by law, and by rights, you should have to put them back together. If you took it apart without permission and without authority to take it apart all the way like that, then you should do it right and put it back together. But at the very least, do not damage the parts and give them back to the person. That's a really, really, I know this is a Blimpin' with Jesus channel, but it's called Blimpin' with Jesus, not Blimpin' as Jesus. So I'm going to use a swear word. That's a real shitty thing to do to somebody, is to take their car apart and then tell them it's going to cost a super big amount to fix it and then give the parts back to them. And then while you're putting them in their car, break a few parts. Damage it a bit. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah,
though I was able to fix it,
there were pieces that shouldn't have had damage like that. It looked intentional.
it was intentional, and it was a transmission shop. But if I knew for fact the name of it, I'd probably do a video and front them out and let them have it so people would be aware. But people should be aware anyway. They should be careful taking their cars to get fixed at people where they don't know them. Gotta always watch. And that's it basically for today.
Okay,
I
that
love
was
you
a good
guys. I love all
video.
my peeps.
Thank you,
I
Papa.
love
That
ya.
was a good video.
And keep on blimping with Jesus. And if you can, get you a set of wrenches and try to do your own work. Sometimes you'll make mistakes. Sometimes you'll break things. Sometimes you'll bust bolts off. But just try. You'll never know what you can do with Jesus if you don't try. Get a wrench. Put your hand up to the Lord. Get a wrench. Get on YouTube University. Look on there. Educate yourself and have some fun and get greasy. Okay, that's it for today. God bless.